Okay. You see, waiting for more people coming in. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. It is Monday, June 3rd. Happy Pride Month, everyone. And today is our Read Your World celebrates LGBTQI plus free virtual event. I'm going to start letting people come in. Okay, and a few housekeeping items. You can enable the closed captioning. Everyone will be on mute except for the host, and you can respond to our questions via the chat feature. Today's session will be recorded and we will have it on our YouTube channel. Questions and or drop comments in the chat box for a chance to win the giveaway bundle. Liana will be talking about that shortly. And please update your name and include your pronouns. Oh boy, hold on a second. Okay. Well, again, welcome. We have Mia Wengen. She is the co-founder and president of Read Your World, formerly known as Multicultural Children's Book Day. We have our wonderful Liana Guillen Mora. She's a social media manager and IG Live host. And yours truly, Francis. I'm the project manager and I help with these type of events and with the book matching program and our blog. Okay, so Liana.
So we actually have two giveaways that we're going to do, and the first one is for a gift card to bookshop.org, and that one is open to anyone, even if you're outside the US. And then we also have this huge prize that includes all of the books that you see there on the screen, like Fat Angie Homecoming, Pedro and Danielle, Granddad's Pride, Costume for Charlie, and on and on. They're so flamboyant. Plus you get one of the t-shirts. You see several of us modeling them today. We're also going to share a link for where you can get your own if you don't win the prize, but we have all of those are going to be in the prize, but that is only for people here in the US just because of the cost of shipping. But make sure you are participating in the chat because that is where we're going to choose the winner. We're just going to choose them randomly for people that are participating in that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Liana. Okay, so before we get started, we have a lot of participants. I would love for you all to type in the chat, where are you connecting from? So where are you? Are you in the US? You're out of the country? We would just love to know. And while you type in where you are, we have some people from, let me see, San Antonio. Liana, can you help me here with the chat, see where they're logging in from?
Sure, I see St. Louis, San Diego, and Michigan. Let's see, we're Columbus, Ohio,
Utah,
Utah, just north of Boston, another Massachusetts, Austin.
Awesome.
Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you all here.
Yes, we're happy to have you here. Okay,
Chicago.
so we're going to go ahead and get started with the introduction of our fabulous panelists. We have guest author and homeschooling coach, Afsaneh Moradian. She's the author of Jamie is Jamie picture book series, selling over 10,000 copies internationally. She's also a homeschooling coach who guides adults to communicate effectively with their children and empowers the creation of safe and inclusive learning spaces. She's also a doctoral candidate in education with a master's in education. She has over 20 years of experience as an educator and a curriculum writer, worked with hundreds of students from preschool to graduate level, led various teacher training workshops, and is the host of the Neurodiverse Homeschooling Summit as well. Thank you so much for being here, Afsaneh.
Thank you so much for having me.
We also have author and licensed clinical psychologist Michael Genhart, Ph.D. He is the author of numerous picture books on themes such as friendship, homelessness and compassion, microaggressions, LGBTQ plus families, and multicultural families. His latest book is Spanish is the Language of My Family, which was the winner of the Tomás Rivera Mexican American Book Award and received a starred Kirkus review. Other recent books include May Your Life Be Deliciosa, which was a Pura Belpré honor, and also They're So Flamboyant. Forthcoming book, which is June of next year, is Edie for Equality. Edie Windsor Stands Up for Love.
Okay, and we have also guest author and filmmaker E. Charlton-Trujillo, called The Force of Nature by Kirkus Reviews, 2024 Michael L. Prince Award winner for the Collector's Stories, and other award-winning books include the Fat Angie series. You will get participate in the giveaway because you will be able to get one of the books. Feels Like Home and Prize Fighter in Mi Casa. Co-author picture books, A Girl Can Build Anything, Lupe Lopez, Rockstar Rules, and Lupe Lopez, Reading Rockstar. Short fiction in Living Beyond Borders, Growing Up a Mexican in America. Awards include Stonewall Book Award, International Latino Book Award, Junior Library Guild Gold Standards, and Lambda Literary Finalists. Speaks to K-12 and university audiences about storytelling. Co-founder of the youth literacy nonprofit Never Counted Out. Thank you, E. for being here. Okay.
We also have author C.K. Malone, who is the author of A Costume for Charlie, Poppy's All Souls Song, and other children's books. Bigender award-winning educator and literature coach at the secondary level. They design culturally and LGBTQIA plus responsive units for the district, work as a climate and culture coach, and they coach and advise through the Genders and Sexualities Alliance Network, GSA, and advocate for everyone to have the space to tell their own stories in the literary world.
And we also, last but not least, our guest author and retired physician, woodworker, poet, and illustrator, Federico Erebia, recipient of the 2024 Lambda Literary Award for Exceptional New Writer, debut novel Pedro and Daniel, Levi Querido 2023 Commendations, 2024 Ohana Book Award finalist, 2024 Massachusetts Book Award long list, 2024 America's Book Award commended title, 2024 Bank Street Best of the Year, 2023 Kirkus Best of the Year as well. Star reviews from Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, and Shelf Awareness. Member of the SCBWI Impact and Legacy Fund Steering Committee, and is also a board member of Read Your World. Intersectional identities, gay, neurodivergent, and Mexican American. Thank you all for being here. Okay. Some of you have seen us, but we have our little special t-shirt. So this is our exclusive LGBTQIA merch. If you're interested, we'll leave the screen up for a minute, so you can scan it. Just pick up your phone, scan the QR code, or just save the link. Okay. Wonderful. And if you missed it, just let us know in the chat and we will share it again. And also, this is the reveal of our 2025 classroom kit. It is Creating Inclusive Classroom, LGBTQIA 2025 Classroom Kit. In this kit, you'll find activities for creating gender-affirming and inclusive spaces for children of all ages, a poster created by Federico Erebia, Creating Inclusive Classroom, LGBTQIA plus Classroom Kit, a book list of 55 LGBTQIA plus children's books curated by Mia, an LGBTQIA plus fact sheet to include pronouns and suggested steps for LGBTQIA plus school inclusion, and also an LGBTQIA plus survey template that one of our panelists will be talking about today as well. An educator's guide for Love is Love that includes pre and post reading questions and activities and vocabulary. And we also have an essay, a very personal essay in every town from EE, and a lesson plan on living in harmony with topics like interconnectedness, inclusion, and respect from one of our sponsors, Language League. So I will give you all a minute to scan that QR code so you can get your kits. And now we'll also share the link at the end. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first topic, is challenges that educators face in creating inclusive classrooms for LGBTQIA plus students, and how can these challenges be addressed by our guest author, Afsaneh Moradian. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here with you, and I'm going to try to say a whole lot in a short amount of time, so I'm sorry if I speak a little fast. But I don't know if you're familiar with the Jamie books. Jamie is Jamie, Jamie and Bubby, and Jamie's Class Has Something to Say, but they're gender-affirming picture books, and 2 out of 3 of them take place in the classroom because it's such an important influential area for kids' lives. They spend so much time at school, and it plays such an enormous role in developing a sense of self, in understanding who they are in relation to their peers, and who they are from how they're treated by other adults who aren't their parents in their lives. So creating inclusive classrooms becomes a very important thing for educators to have in mind and to do. I think one of the things that we don't want to see is we don't want to see it be the child's responsibility to have their pronouns known or have their pronouns or their preferred name used. So I think one of the biggest things that educators can do is to really understand who are the children in your classroom. Who is on your list? Is that the name that they want to use? Is, what are their pronouns? And then creating a sense of normalcy around pronouns, that everyone has pronouns. What are yours? What are your, there's really great activities in the classroom kit to use, but creating a sense of normalcy around that from day one. So including that in icebreaker, get to know you type of activities from the beginning, so that everyone is clear on what everyone else's pronouns are, but also having a sense that it's okay for pronouns to change. It's okay for names to change, that's a totally normal thing. That's a part of being alive. And I think with that comes just a real acceptance and celebration of kids as individuals. And I know that can be hard with some administrations. I know sometimes kids aren't supposed to have their nails painted or aren't supposed to wear certain clothes. But as much as you can get away with it, validating kids for however they want to look, however they want to dress, making taking real care to leave room for kids to wear any type of clothing, that clothes don't have gender, that toys and games don't have gender, and really creating the freedom for kids to explore, play, express themselves in all sorts of different ways, as long as it's not harmful to anyone else, right? We want to keep safe, respectful environments. So I know that it can be very challenging. I'm a longtime classroom teacher myself, to really create like a sanctuary in the classroom and really create a space of respect. So I don't want to minimize how difficult that is, but I do think that there's all of those structure, building, procedure, putting the procedures in place, making sure kids are aware how things function in the classroom in the beginning of the year. And that is absolutely the best time to make it clear that you are an ally for all of your students, not just gender-based, but also it has to be inclusive for different races, different religions, all sorts of different diversity. And I know there's going to be a speaker talking about intersectionality a little bit later. So really creating that safe space for kids to be who they are, and really, really prioritizing all the kinds of activities that you can to share pronouns for kids to share who they are, what their preferences are, what they like, what they dislike, and just creating that as a super normal, absolutely normal thing so that kids know how to introduce themselves, say their pronouns, say who they are, and then ask someone else. So again, we never want to put the onus on the child to have to speak up and say, oh, my pronouns are they, them, or my name is actually not what's on the list. We don't want to put kids in a position where they have to always feel like they have to advocate for themselves. As adults, we really want to set the example. We really want to show all that love and celebrate kids for who they are and create those spaces. So all that kids have to do is show up and just be who they are and learn and make friends and develop and grow in their own way. So thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them later on in the program. And I really hope that, the activities help. And I'd love to hear your feedback later on about, what you think if you try the activities in your classroom. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And also just wanted to mention that questions and comments for guest speakers will be at the end, okay? So if you have a question, make sure you write it down so you won't forget. And some of the activities found in our classroom kit that Afsaneh has mentioned, you can find them there, her creation. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now our next speaker is Dr. Michael Genhart. The topic that he's going to be talking about is the importance of representation of LGBTQIA plus families in picture books. Okay, so
hello, everyone. So can you guys see the screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, good. So I have the fun job today of being able to talk about picture books and why queer representation is important in picture books. So let's see. During Pride Month, so happy Pride, everyone. All right. So I wanted just to say a few things about picture books in general, why they're important. For many, many kids, it is their first book. And so they learn vocabulary and language skills, but also listening skills. But more than that, it's an invitation to storytelling and stories that are about different kinds of people. They learn about emotions and various experiences, maybe unlike their own. They learn new ideas. Often picture books teach us lessons. And more than anything, they're fun and funny and informative. As Emily Style has shared with us, picture books are also mirrors and windows. That is, many picture books, hopefully you can see yourself in them. That's the mirror idea. Or you get a glimpse into the world of somebody else. That's the windows idea. Dr. Bishop has also expanded on this with her concept sliding glass doors, where picture books can also be an experience where you walk through into another world. And I love this quote from her where she talked about children from dominant social groups really need windows into reality to understand the multicultural nature of the world that they live in. Because as we know, when children can't find themselves in picture books, they often feel devalued. So I'm going to say a bit more about why representation in general is important. When you see yourself in a book, picture yourself as a child or children in your world, you just feel good. You immediately feel good when you can identify with a character who maybe is struggling with something similar to your own experience. And when you learn from that character, it can deepen your own emotional intelligence and self-awareness. And if you're reading a story that's very different from your experience, that can promote empathy toward others, not like yourself. So when you can't see yourself in a book, it can open a door, more than a door, to harmful biases and stereotypes, because you don't get to read authentic stories about other people, so you don't get that kind of exposure. It can also lead to prejudice and exclusion and just feeling like you don't matter. So I wanted to say a few words about queer representation in picture books in particular. These are books that have families with two moms or two dads, or characters who are questioning what they feel like on the inside, boy or a girl, something in between, or another gender entirely, coming out, what pronouns to use, and being proud of who you are, just as you are. Here are some examples of queer representation in picture books. Obviously, there are a ton more, thankfully. These are some of my favorites. Beautiful, beautiful stories. I've written a few of myself through the lens of being a gay man and gay dad. That's me in my younger years. Our daughter is now 28 and she's an elementary school teacher, which we're very proud of. So here are a few of my books. And so why is queer representation in particular important? Imagine being that child who has two moms or two dads, picking up a book about a family just like theirs. That child is immediately going to feel affirmed who they are and feel less alone, more connected to the community and society, accepted, supported. And it turns out it's super important if you feel seen and heard and valid and loved. Of course it is. Conversely, if you cannot see yourself in books, or those books have been pulled from your library, or challenged and banned, you can feel invisible or erased. As I said before, it perpetuates biases. You can feel isolated from your peers and community, and consequently feel more anxious and stressed and not safe in your own community or your own school. I wanted to dispel a few myths. The first one being queer themed books are inappropriate for children. Often that comment is made because it's linked to sex or sexuality, which is unfortunate and just completely wrong, because if they're going to use that argument, the reality is children are already exposed to sexuality in that case through a heterosexual standpoint from books with a mom and a dad, for example. Number two, children are too young to understand and discuss these topics. Well, whether you're a member of a queer community or not, children at any age need to be exposed to diversity, and it's never, never too young. And finally, there are no queer members in our school or community. Yeah, good luck with that, because it turns out we're everywhere, and it may not be evident if you're not feeling safe or you're not out. And just keep in mind that there likely is a queer kid in your class, probably more than one, and you just don't know it. So the good news is that there are more and more queer themed books coming out. That means increased visibility. It also means increased challenge and banned queer themed titles. Here are some examples, really wonderful books. But we will not be silenced, will we? So this compels me to write even more queer themed titles. This is my next book coming out about Edie Windsor, was mentioned before, the woman who brought her case to the Supreme Court, brought down DOMA, and paved the way for same-sex marriage. And following that is another biography about Judy Baca, who's this sort of badass feminist Latina lesbian who painted the longest mural in the world, and what that story is about. It's pretty incredible. And my next book is called Mariposa, which you may know is a Spanish word for butterfly, but it's also been a derogatory word used in many Latino countries for being gay, mostly toward boys and men. And this is a story of a queer Latino boy whose beloved grandmother just helps him grow into this beautiful, beautiful person. That's the butterfly part of Mariposa. But along the way in the story, she helps him address the ugly part of Mariposa. So I want to reclaim the ugly and make this a beautiful story, which I hope you agree.
Thank
Agree
you.
to. That's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Thank
Sure.
you. Okay. You can stop share.
How do I stop? Oh, yeah.
Mhm. There you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're going to continue. Okay, so our next topic is In Every Town by guest author E. Charlton-Trujillo. Okay, so look, sorry. Let me stop share.
I look like Michael. I look just like Michael. Michael's my whole screen. Is this how it's supposed to be?
Okay, no, no, does everyone see? Okay.
Did everybody see me? Or did they just see me? It's like I'm not Michael, so you know.
Okay, so let me just stop here.
It's there.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Spotlight.
Spotlight. Spotlight.
There we go.
Okay, and spotlight. There you go.
Just for a second, I was Michael though, so that's really great, you know. Just gonna switch it up. Hello everyone. It's so great to be here today and to be with my peers discussing, you know, something that of course I'm very passionate about, which is writing for children. You know, a lot of my work is being out traveling throughout the year when I'm not writing and working with young people about not only storytelling and sort of like how do you craft a story, but seeing themselves sort of actively in a place to recognize the power in being heard. And I think, you know, I wrote the essay not as some sort of, you know, self-congratulatory way to look how I've overcome struggle, but rather to just kind of say, well, this is where I started. I started in a community that was incredibly small, that was incredibly poor, where there was zero access to books about queerness for sure, and definitely none about my experience of being Mexican American and queer. And a lot of what Michael was talking about in his presentation, like, well, this is what happens when you don't have access to books. I mean, so much of that was true of my experience, of feeling isolated, of feeling alone, of feeling like if I don't exist in a book or in a movie, in a television series where everyone doesn't die who's gay, then it's like, do I exist? Am I real? And I think that when I wrote the Federico books, that was a kind of a way of answering that and asking, well, you know, it wasn't a fluffy book, and it wasn't an easy, you know, it wasn't an easy book or an easy series, but it was an opportunity to explore some of the world that I knew and some of the world I could manifest in this narrative. Because I think whether it's me growing up or young people now, even with so much of the social media they have access to, books are still that safe place that we talk about, that not just an escape, but that place they can call home. And I see that more and more and more every time I go out and meet with young people. What I see is this sense of connection and wonder and place. You know, I read so much, you know, young people aren't reading anymore. And then I meet these kids in these massive book festivals or these little towns, and they are in fact reading, and they are in fact yearning to feel seen and heard. When I was at a festival in North Texas, I think it was the North Texas Book Festival, Teen Book Festival. And I did a panel, and then after the panel, these kids came up to me, and this one young person says, how do I come out to my parents? I read your book, but your book didn't tell me how to do that. And that's the interesting part, is that my books aren't there to tell kids how to come out. It's to say, I see you, I see your experience and the experience you may have with other people. But see, that allows them to then say, well, then where can I go and what can I do? And what are the ways that I can be seen and be real, the way these characters are being seen and real in these books? And also to say, unlike what I had as an experience, is I do exist on the page, right? And even if someone isn't queer and comes to my book, because I always say, you know, if you weren't queer when you came to my books, you're not going to be queer when you leave. Like it's not one of those things. And so, but for those kids that don't identify in LGBTQIA plus 2S plus, I put too many pluses, that those kids are still coming and saying, well, I have a friend, or I have a cousin, or I have an uncle, I have an aunt. And so it's that sense of creating a place where everyone can be seen. And I think sometimes, you know, I hear my teacher friends talk so much about the work that they're doing in their classrooms and the fight that they have to do with censorship and trying to create these inclusive spaces. And it's hard. The world is hard. And this country is hard. And getting access and creating access is hard. And so first, I want to commend everyone who's still trying so hard to do that in spite of the obstacles, because the young people in your classroom are really in need of a place where they can belong. And I see it time and time again. And I know you know that, and I know you know it consciously. But even if in reading my essay, one thing you can take away is, even if it was about my personal experience and the experience I've had going out in the world and meeting with young people, is to remember that there is a young person in your life, whether they're related to you or they're a student in your classroom. And what they need so much is to know that you see them. And whether it's my books or Julie Murphy or anyone's books that you're giving to them to affirm who they are, to showcase and give them a place to exist, it matters more than I could ever say. Because it is by all great miracle that I get to be here in this world, because trying to come out of that time was a genuine war. And I don't want that for young people. I want us to celebrate them and honor them for exactly who they are. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Here's the next. Our next guest, it is not EE again, it is CK. And the topic is out and about helping educators navigate LGBTQIA2S plus communities and families. I'm going to go ahead and share a wonderful document that they created for us. Just bear with me for a quick minute. Let me share the document. And spotlight CK. Where is CK?
I think you would want the one pager. This is the survey.
Okay, so hold on.
Oh, there you go. There you
This
go.
one. Okay, perfect. Okay, let me
Yes.
spotlight you.
Okay.
Okay, everyone can see CK spotlighted. Okay.
Okay. So, navigating LGBTQIA. Let me set my timer. Because I'm lame. I'm lame like that. So navigating families and LGBTQIA Two-Spirit Plus in schools is hecka hard. Like, it is hard. You go from schools that are like, yay, we're gonna celebrate every day, and you go to schools that are like, nah, you're going to hell. Like, and and speaking as a Christian who is also LGBTQIA Two-Spirit Plus, it's always been kind of a weird one to me that you can separate. So I run multiple GSAs, and the easiest thing, which was actually suggested by me and Francis, was to make a fact sheet, which is this one pager that I normally don't do, but to be honest, it was the best thing they could have ever asked for. So thank you. Is discussing GSA and Genders and Sexualities Alliance, how important it is to be in schools. That is their whole mission, is to support kids, and so that they don't feel alone, and also to support parents, because they also partner with PFLAG, which is parents who are trying to understand their kids' identities when they don't understand. But they also suggested these pronouns and the versus sexuality versus identity. But I think the biggest thing to take away from what I'm presenting right now, aside from this, is we do a survey every year, and you don't have to fill it out if you don't want to, but it's to find out like what kids identify in our school and how we can help them. So we do like the whole like email ID, but then who is the teacher or adult on campus you can trust? Because not always is it the counselor, not always is it the VP, not always is it the classroom teacher, maybe the custodian, it may be the secretary in the front office. You just don't know who is the person they trust. Then we ask about like if you're a part of the community. If not, are you an ally or supporter? What are your pronouns? If you have neopronouns, please list them, because the neopronouns are like numerous. Is there a different name you would like your teachers to call you? Are there certain teachers you don't want to know your name? Because you just don't know who gets along with whom, right? Does your family know? Because by law, well, at least in where I'm from, by law, you cannot divulge if a kid identifies. But the biggest thing is to not share that with anyone until you know for sure that they are ready, because oh my gosh, talk about scarring. And then one of our questions is, are you open to the member of the community contacting you? Like, we have an active GSA. Are you okay if we contact you just to talk to you? It doesn't have to be an adult. It can be a kid. It can be someone who identifies who's not a teacher or an adult or a kid. It could be anyone in the community. What do you want? Because we can link you up with other resources. We also link up kids with a buddy. Like if you are out, we can link you with an out buddy. If you are closeted, we can link you with a closeted buddy. And I mean, this takes a lot. It takes a lot of work. It sounds very glib, but it takes a lot of work. But we also ask if they have days that make them sad and what support they need, because you just never know. As long as celebrations, what do you want us to celebrate with you? And the biggest deal is listening to kids, right? It's a big deal to listen to kids, and kids who identify come from all races, creeds, like everything. And all they want is someone to actually understand where they're coming from and why. And sometimes they don't even have to share their why. I mean, that's, to be honest, it's none of our business, right? If they identify, they identify. Like, that's not our business. But it's so important to start off the year right, whether it's when you're doing procedures, if you have an advisory and you send this out during advisory, like soliciting information and finding out who these kids are who need this support is the biggest deal. Because let's be honest, they're often the most overlooked in terms of, like, if you look at standardized testing, they look at race, they look at, poverty, they look at all these things, and they forget to look if someone identifies. And if someone who identifies is the most intelligent person in the room, they go to the next class in the next year, and someone who hates just their every being, it makes them want to not perform, and they disengage and everything else. And all we want is for kids to engage in school, engage in life. And that's the biggest thing, is engaging in life. And if you don't have people who are safe spaces, if you don't have people who understand, engaging life is hard. And you become someone who wants to commit suicide. I've been there. I was placed on some stuff for trying to commit suicide because of identity, and it becomes hard. So the biggest thing is for you to be there for them and to understand them. And you can use my tools, you cannot use my tools, it's cool. But the biggest thing is for you to understand that these kids are facing a harsh reality. And if you are there, you are one person who keeps them from not giving up. So
thank you so much, DK. Oh boy. Okay. Oh. Wow. Okay, let's go to our last but not least speaker. Is Federico Erebia. He will be talking about intersectionality, kids of color who are also LGBTQIA, excuse me, plus kids with disabilities, neurodivergence who are also LGBTQIA, and kids from minority religions who are also LGBTQIA. So let me stop sharing here. And he's also going to be sharing an awesome surprise, but I'll wait for him to share with you. Let me spotlight. Can everybody see Federico spotlight? Yes? Okay, awesome.
And I believe I am unmuted.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Afsaneh, Michael, EE, and CK. I loved everything you had to say. I'm going to build a little bit on what each of you had to say tonight. I'm going to be talking about intersectionality in books for children of all ages. Okay, so why is it not letting me advance? Oh, it did. Okay. Yes. Okay. Intersectionality is the convergence of two or more marginalized or underrepresented identities in an individual. Identities may include a person's race, ethnicity, skin tone, nationality, tribal affiliation, socioeconomics, physical appearance, physical ability, gender identity, sexual identity, neurodivergence, or religion. Let's remember that there are marginalized groups within the queer community. They are intersectional individuals who need books with protagonists just like themselves. Each person should choose how they identify, but sometimes inaccurate identities are imposed on us by others. I'll give 3 examples. Folks who are bisexual are oftentimes called gay or lesbian. Folks who are Latinx are oftentimes called Mexican, even if their ancestors and families are not from Mexico. Folks who are trans are sometimes knowingly misgendered. An individual may identify with more than one race or ethnicity. They may practice more than one religion. They may observe customs from more than one country. They may have more than one unrelated disability. People can have hair and eye color and facial and body features that are different from those of their parents or siblings. Intersectional individuals deal with compounded prejudice and discrimination because of their identities. These include the various phobias and isms that plague our society, like homophobia and racism. I like to use myself as an example. I am a gay, neurodivergent Latino. My skin tone is darker than some Latinx people. I have indigenous Mexican features. I have experienced racism from the general population, including the queer community. I have experienced colorism from the general population and from lighter-skinned Latinx people. I have experienced homophobia from the general population, including Latinx people. I have experienced prejudice from the general population, including Latinx and queer people, because of my autism, dyslexia, ADHD, and stutter. I think we can all agree that we need diverse books. I hope that my examples show why we also need more intersectional books with protagonists who are intersectional, which is why my husband and I will fund 2 new annual awards for children's books, each with a $1,500 prize. The awards will be administered by the folks at Read Your World. One award will be for a picture book or a graphic novel with a protagonist who is intersectional. A second award will be for a middle grade or young adult novel with a protagonist who is intersectional. They will be called the Pedro and Daniel Intersectionality Book Awards. There will be a long list, there will be a short list, and there will be a winner for each category. Sometimes when you really want something, You have to create the foundation on which it will be built. I've been fortunate. I know how an award, an honor, or a best of list can make a difference, not only in book sales, but also in the validation of an author's work. Jim and I believe in the concept of paying it forward. There was no award or prize for intersectional books until now. I just want to make sure that folks understand that an intersectional protagonist does not need to be BIPOC or queer. For example, a protagonist could be a dyslexic Jewish girl or a visually impaired teen whose family struggles with poverty, or any other combination of two or more marginalized identities. We expect to open the call for submissions in September 2024 for books traditionally published this calendar year. Our goal is to announce the winners in May of next year for books published in 2024. For more information, you can follow Read Your World and myself on social media. You can also subscribe to our newsletters through our websites. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very.
That is so awesome. Thank you to you and your husband. This is exciting, and we're even more excited to be part of this journey as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're wrapping it up. It is Monday night, and I know many are still in school, trying to just make it and survive it through the last couple of days and weeks. So if you have any questions and or comments, please put it in the chat box. And in the meantime, we just wanted to let you also know that we already had a kickoff Pride Month a day soon, which was 2 days before, June 1, May 30th, with Alan R. Wells. You can find that on our YouTube channel and on Instagram. And June 6th, we will have an IG Live with Lee Wind as well. Now, let me just give them a few more minutes for any comments, questions. Does anyone have any questions? I'm looking at the
Valerie
chat.
would like to ask a question. If you can unmute her.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Who is
you.
it? Okay. Oh, Valerie.
Thank you so much. It's been really wonderful to be here and listen to all of you. My question is about, in terms of, as an educator, I understand the idea that we should not put the burden on students to identify, but I also find that if we're not told, it can be difficult sometimes to know. That's one thing. And then the second part is, I've been in situations where a student has told me what they've pronouns or a name. And then when that name has been used with a parent, the parent has gone ballistic. And once I know that, I feel weird because I will call the student what the student wants to be called. And then, I'll switch for the parent because I don't want to cause a problem. But I also feel that when I switch for the parent, I'm not honoring who the student really is and who the student really wants to be called. So anyway, it's just tricky. I don't know if anyone else has dealt with that. Yeah. Thank you.
CK? Thank you, Valerie, for that question. It's a great question. CK.
Yes, thank you, Valerie. You are always the most amazing person who fights for people. So in meetings, it's tricky with parents. Unless they're out and everything's agreed to, then you just use what the parents use. And that it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it sucks. Like the parents call me Mrs. Malone. And that's what the kids tell, and because I run GSA and that's our code, And it sucks. Every time I have to hear Mrs. Malone, I want to like, because that's not me. But at the same time, you have to honor kind of if the kids are not out and telling the parents that that is truly what they want to be called, then you have to unfortunately abide by what the parents say. But if the kid has been very honest and told their parents and they've come out and they've done all this stuff, then I would talk to your administration and also check with the school board and the school laws. Because, like, where I'm from, by law, if a kid says that this is what they are, then you can't fight that. Like, and so different laws for different folks. But I can understand your situation because as even an advisor, I'm placed in that situation all the time. I get meetings all the time where they're like, well, Nelson, we want you here. And Malone, we want you here. And blah, 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 we want you here. Because we're all like part of the GSA. And and you can't speak for the kid. So you just got to kind of talk to the kid and be like, hey, kiddo, like, we're going to go into this meeting. This is what's happening. What do you want to be called? How do you want me to reference you? What do I know? And that's why a survey is so helpful, to be honest, because then it goes out to different teams or different teachers and everything else. But then kids change their names all the time. So I can be talking to Draculaura one day, one of my kids, and then the next day is True. And so you just don't know. And so the biggest thing is to ask your kid, your kiddos that you teach, are you out? What do you want to be called? What are your pronouns? Like, before I go into this, like, please don't make me the person who outs you, because that's the worst feeling in the world. And it mostly happens by accident. Like, kids say something and then they go, oh no, I changed my name. And you're like, great, what's your name? Like, I don't know who I'm referencing. And so the biggest thing is to talk to the kids and ask them everything. And I would just stick to the letter of the law, as although I'm in California, but for me, it's whatever they say, whatever the kids go by and everything else, unless they tell you do not share, you just speak that way.
Well, I'm just going to chime in really quickly because something you said about the letter of the law is really important because I'm currently in Texas and and you know, the letter of the law here is very complicated, especially for young people who identify as trans or LGBTQIA plus, right, in the whole realm. And so I think you have to know your environment and know. And the other thing I often suggest, because I'm not in the classroom, right? I'm an author and I get to come into your classroom, but I don't get to live there. And I think is that you really, who are your allies in the school? What do they know? What are, you know, because so often now it almost feels like, you know, you're in a battle, right? Against, you know, again, depending on your location, right? California, I've lived there, it's a different vibe, right? Texas, very different vibe. And so I think it's really important that if you're questioning, what can I do? What can I not do to honor my students? Because one, you really want to honor them is to rally support within your community, know who are your allies and seeking information, right? I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, what do the other authors think? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to find and know, you know, who are your people and where is the information, right? So that we can honor these young people in your classrooms.
Thank
I see
you.
heads nodding,
Yeah.
so I think there's some like overall agreement.
Thank you, EE. And the surveys that CK shared it is in the classroom kit. So everything that's been discussed today is in our classroom kit. Okay, so let me just go ahead because it is 7:55. I'm in the East Coast, South Carolina. So okay, we have our IG Live. Okay, so now it's time to announce the giveaway winners. Liliana, you ready?
I'm ready. I did this just randomly from people who have been participating in the chat. So if you when I call your name, if you want to just message me You should be
Mhm.
able to do that from the drop-down menu in the chat. You can just look for Leanna. So that way, not everybody's getting your personal information, and just send me your address and email address. Well, the first one, I think we just need the email address, and that is for Jennifer Oliger. Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Jennifer O. So that's for the gift card. You just need, if you just want to message me your email address, congratulations. And for the big book prizes with the books and the t-shirt and more, that's Amanda Mitchell. So congratulations, Amanda. If you want to just send me your address, you can just message me in the chat.
Awesome. Congratulations to the winners. Okay, so of course, I'm pretty sure most of you already follow us, but if you don't, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, now X, TikTok. We need some more followers on TikTok and on YouTube. And last but not least, if you found value in this program, please consider supporting our small organization, just a team of 3. And can you chip in the cost of a coffee cup? It's tax deductible. So I'll give you a minute, if you feel, you want to, you can scan the QR code. And in the meantime, does anyone else have any questions? Because I really want to be respectful of everyone's time. It is a Monday, at least evening on my end. So any questions, any comments, our speakers, anyone else before we wrap it up?
Thank you
Anyone else? No?
thank you for organizing this. This has been wonderful and an honor really to be part of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
for accepting.
And happy Pride, everyone.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If we don't have any more questions, I think this is a good night or a good afternoon for people in the West Coast, California. Thank you, everyone, and happy Pride Month.
It's great to see everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.